I lost power for 6 days because of Hurricane Beryl, and the physical and psychological impacts that it had on me were way worse than what I was prepared for. As you know, Houston has already gone through two other severe storms this year alone. There was that freeze that was projected to knock power out for a lot of people. I did not lose power during that one, but the massive windstorms, tornadoes, and stuff that came through like a month ago, those we did lose power for a couple of days as a result of that. There were some people who were actually without power for, I heard, up to 2 weeks, which is insane. So this particular storm, this one hit my area for the longest period of time that I personally have been affected. I thought that I was ready based on the last power outage that I'd experienced, and then also, of course, the freeze that was back in 2021. I thought I was ready. You know, I like charged up my power bank and my electronic devices, made sure to like do my laundry and stuff beforehand, did not stock up on a bunch of perishable groceries. So I thought I was ready because I was thinking, okay, it's going to be another 2-3 day power outage, and I was wrong. But also, as you might have heard from other Houstonians, we've also been under heat advisory this entire time. The temperature in my house, and this is like, you know, with the shades drawn and everything, I believe it got up to 81 degrees in the house, unless I, you know, misread what the thermostat was telling me when the power did finally come back on, because I went to go check it immediately, and that's what it said on there. It said 81 degrees. And I don't think you'll understand if you haven't been through something like this. It's so much more than just being uncomfortable. It's so much more than just being able to say, like, oh, well, you know, people used to live without air conditioning and electricity and stuff like that. Like, why can't you handle it? Like, how weak are you? And it's not about that. If anything, if you want to call me weak for even complaining about this, I would argue that if anything, I think it's a testament to my strength, the fact that I did not end up going to a hotel or staying with family or friends or anything like that this entire time. Like, I stayed here and I fended for myself, and I only basically took a couple of breaks to go to, you know, whatever bar or cafe was open and allowing people to bring their devices to charge them. And I did hang out with a friend at her place for a day as well to do the same thing. But the things that I did not expect was that with this power outage and with the intense heat wave that we were experiencing, it was so much more than just losing sleep at night. And, you know, like, I kind of have to have some kind of a blanket on me, so I couldn't just sleep completely without a blanket. But obviously I was sleeping in like the shortest, most like minimal clothing that I had, and I literally had just the thin bed sheet over the top of me to sleep at night. And of course I was like tossing and turning all night because I was extremely uncomfortable. But, you know, then I also did not foresee the fact that it would be so hot in my house that I would feel too sick to eat. And so I was easily consuming somewhere around 1,000 calories per day less than I normally intake, because I usually eat 3 meals a day, and I was only eating like a small, maybe granola bar in the morning and then one meal for the rest of the day. And to try to make up for some of those missed calories, I would get some kind of like fast food, just something that was like a high caloric intake, just so that I didn't starve. But of course, my body was still feeling the effects of starting to starve, and I was just incredibly weak and agitated and just feeling like I was about to get sick, like how you feel when you're about to come down with a cold or a flu. And also, I am neurodivergent, and at the bare minimum, I have ADHD. And I'm quite sure that I'm autistic, but I just have not been able to get that officially diagnosed. And so I really depend on my routine, and I depend on predictability and structure to be able to function. And obviously, when you lose power in your entire home, your entire routine is disrupted. I did not do any of my usual workouts because I wanted to conserve my own bodily energy as much as possible since I already was not eating enough. Mentally, I was just really going through it because, if I didn't have Wi-Fi at the house, I couldn't work on the online business that I'm trying to build while I was at home. And so, I was having to go to these public locations. And of course, like the first locations that opened up, that was particularly stressful because everyone's kind of cramming in there because, that's more people that are without power at that particular time. But still, mentally, I just really was not handling it well because I couldn't just live at these places that had air conditioning and electricity and Wi-Fi. Eventually I had to go home, and so I'd go back to my house and just roast and sweat. And the only relief that I could have, because we were under heat advisory, so you couldn't just crack open a window because there was no breeze to cool things down. The only way I could get any relief was, since we fortunately did not lose running water, was I could take a cold shower. But that could only do so much. The other aspect of the psychological part of this had to do with the fact that there was no way of really knowing when we were going to have power again. So there was no way to plan. Like, we didn't really know how to space it out. We were really just having to take things one day at a time. And when the hurricane first came through, it did impact our cell service a bit as well, but that came back pretty quickly. So I was still able to use the 5G internet on my phone, to be able to check social media and see what other people were saying throughout the week. And, I would see some people saying that they're getting power back, and I was able to still keep up with some news about what was going on. And then, of course, there was the really frustrating things that I was hearing about the Centerpoint CEO and management. The CEO has a $5 million salary that he gets every year. And I'm sure some of y'all have seen that picture going around of him sitting in an office to do an interview about this whole thing. And he was sitting right next to the thermostat, and you can see the thermostat says a very, very chilly, comfortable 70 degrees on there. Meanwhile, a lot of us in Texas, at least, because the Texas power grid is absolute shit, we get told, to set your thermostats either at 76 or 78 during the summertime to avoid putting too much stress on the power grid, which we obviously know that like rich people and politicians do not get held to those same standards. They just want everybody else, all the regular folk, to be adhering to that standard. And even if they were saying 76 degrees, that is still incredibly uncomfortable, especially in Houston where the humidity is so high. Like, it is just absolutely miserable around here. And then you literally see proof of these cushy CEOs in 70-degree offices while so many of us are without power and we are sweating in the dark in our homes and not sure when things are going to come back. So now let's delve into why the CEO and management are so hated right now. It is because we've been hearing, and I don't have a way to guarantee if this is 100% true or if this is just rumor, but we were hearing, and we saw pictures actually of, the trucks of linemen coming from out of city and out of state even to help get us back to normal as quickly as possible. We would see pictures of a bunch of these trucks just camped out in these big parking lots, not working on anything for hours. And this is beyond that one post where someone was angry because they saw the people taking a lunch break. This was like beyond the lunch break. And we heard that the reason for this was that the CEO and management team had not figured out how they were going to pay these people, and they were really actually pinching pennies in this matter and not wanting to pay for the hotel stays for the people who came out of town or out of state. And it's just like, this is a natural disaster, and there were over 2 million people in this city alone who lost power, and we were miserable, and it was a heat advisory. And, I fortunately did not have to worry about my life being in danger, but there are people who they rely on medical equipment that needs to be charged, or people who rely on life-saving insulin to be refrigerated. And there are really people out here just playing with people's lives like this. And it's just insane. The thing about this whole mess is that this is not Houston's first hurricane by any means. Okay, we go through hurricanes usually every year, right? Like it's an expected occurrence, and it's been happening for a long time. How the hell are we not better prepared for this? How are we still operating on the shitty Texas power grid that has failed time and time again in these disasters? And how is it taking over a day or two to get us back up and running? Why was I without power in a, pretty like decent part of the city too, for 6 whole days with no answers either as to like when it was going to come back on? Like nobody could even tell us that. They couldn't tell us specifically which locations were going to get power and when. It's just really absurd what we've been through. And honestly, my power came back late Sunday morning, like around 11 a.m. or something like that. I heard the air click on, and I was shocked. I was like, oh my God, is the power back on? So I got up, and that's when I went to check the thermostat, and I saw that it said, that it was 81 degrees in here. But then, also I saw the thermostat was working. And so I walked back into my room, and I collapsed on the ground, and I just started sobbing. And I was ugly crying, just face down on my floor for a good half hour at least. Because going through this was a lot. And I'm not going to cry again for making this video, because I think I've done enough crying yesterday. But basically I lost the whole day yesterday, because I was not feeling relief. What I was feeling was the stress of the situation finally catching up to me. Because when the power came back on, another issue that we've been having, that I've been talking to a lot of people about, is that their power would come on and then they would lose it again. And sometimes the power would fluctuate in and out, so it wasn't even just like a one-time occurrence. And so I didn't know if I could really be relieved. I just knew that I was going to crank that air conditioning up and take advantage of it while I had it. And fortunately, I still have power today, and I've been able to stay cool. But I went to the grocery store today, and I was like, I can't even really buy like a full set of groceries right now because I just don't trust it. I don't know if I'm going to lose power again. And it's been a really hellish week. It's been really hard. It's been hard on me. It's been hard on a lot of my friends. It's been hard on people that I don't even know in this city. And it's just crazy. We deserve better than this.